그러면 세금 보고를 얼마나 했는지를 알고 있어요.
Okay, so I'm going to get started. So this class is basically going to be going over different ways or ways to find more seller leads. And look, first off, I'll say, look, there's no magic sauce to this, right? I'm not going to be able to give you guys like a bullet point list of different things to do, and all of a sudden everybody's going to be able to go out and get listings. It's really, I will say there are a ton of different ways to get leads in real estate. I wouldn't really say there's one way to do it. There's definitely wrong ways, but there's many different ways to go about it. I know what a lot of agents do is they focus on for sale by owners and expireds, which I'm sure has been spoken about at length in these classes. So I'm not really going to go into for sale by owners and expireds. If you want to get better at that, KW offers a wealth of information. I would say Bold is a great thing. They go over scripts and dialogues. Through KW's websites, there's different scripts and dialogues and role plays that you can do. And if you plan on doing for sale by owners and expireds, I would suggest getting a partner to practice with. The nice thing about for sale by owners and expireds is, there's really no risk involved in going after them. They're strangers. If the conversation goes great, that's great. If not, you hang up, you never talk to them again. So there really is no risk except for, I guess, during non-COVID times. Right now, I think there might be some restrictions on calling, but I guess check with Gloria and
There's a cold calling ban.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really do for sale by physicals and expired. But in terms of that, but I think what I will share with you guys is a little bit of, my views on the business and how I believe I've become successful at it. And really, I think my first advice is you really have to embrace being in the business. To me, it's all about your mindset. This is not your job. I always look at, if you really want to be successful at real estate, you can't just look at this as a job. Really, this is your career. And you have to embrace being a realtor kind of as what your identity is. For me, I'm no longer Tim, right? I look at myself as I'm Tim Ho, the realtor. And when I first started in this business, actually I was embarrassed to say that I was a real estate agent. Kind of a little bit of a history on how I got into this business. I went to a top business school, college in the country. I studied accounting. I got a very competitive internship at a Big Four accounting firm my junior year, making good money. And then after college, I started working for Deloitte & Touche and started working towards getting my CPA. And when I left and decided that it wasn't for me, I really didn't enjoy the work. Accounting it wasn't really for me. And when I left to get into real estate, I was 21 years old. And it really wasn't something that my family supported at all. I got into the business in 2008, right when the housing market was starting to crash and everyone was looking for secure jobs. People weren't leaving secure jobs and getting into real estate. So I actually was kind of down on my decision. I thought, I had wasted all the time in school and the hard work that I did in college. I didn't really have the support from my family going into it. And when people would ask me what I was doing, I almost didn't even really want to answer people. I was like, I'm doing real estate now. Because to me, it kind of felt like I was, I guess, taking a step back in my career or from what I was doing. And I didn't really even want people to know what I was doing. And to be honest with you, that was absolutely the wrong way to look at it. And what I kind of liken it to, right, is for example, when a homeowner on an appointment will ask me and says, hey, Tim, is it really necessary to have a for sale sign up, right? And I'll explain to them. I mean, it's things I'll say to them is like, look, when you have your home on the market, you want everyone to know your house is on the market. You want your neighbors, you want your friends, you want everybody to know your house is for sale, because the more people who know that your house is for sale, the more people who's potentially interested in it, right? And I say this all the time, you sell a house for the most money when you make people afraid to lose the house, right? So the more people that are interested in it, the better chance you find yourself in a situation where you have multiple offers on a house. The better you have a situation of potentially, driving the price up, going over asking price. And you really only do that when people are afraid to lose the house, when they see that there's competition in the home. And it's kind of the same way you need to approach your real estate career. So the more people who know what you're doing is the more people that potentially can not only give you business, but who can refer you business. The more chance that you have that, you really kind of just need to embrace it. And every single person that is a potential lead or referral, situation that you can get yourself into. So that's one of those things that I think you really just kind of have to embrace it. So like every time you're out there, whether you're working or you're really not working, you have to say to yourself, look, this is my job. I'm a realtor. This is what I do. And you have to bring up and strike up the conversation with people and any opportunity that you have to get. So I would say, real estate, for me at least, I kind of really look at it as like it's a relationship business. So I'll say if you're not good at keeping relationship with people or having a large network of people that you're close with or in your sphere, it's something that you're going to kind of have to force yourself to get into. And real estate is one of those things that what I love about this business is the more work you put into it, the more money you could potentially make, right? And that was one of the issues that I had in the accounting world was, I was 21 years old coming out of college and you're working. I mean, I was working 9 a.m. to midnight every single day, right? And it didn't really matter how many hours you were putting in. You got paid the exact same amount of money, right? So whether you left the office at 6 o'clock, at 10 o'clock, at 2 in the morning, you made the same amount of money. In real estate is completely different like that. It's the more you put into this business, the more you get out of it. So that's, to me, the unlimited earning potential in this business is kind of really what drove me here. But it's one of those things that I think what's great about it is you don't have to have really any prior experience to it, right? You don't have to go to school. You don't have to go, well, besides your 2-week class that you take or whatever it is now, but there's no real barrier of entry to it. And you don't even need to be smart in this business. You could be as dumb as rocks, and honestly, you can be successful in this business because you just need to learn a very minute part of this and get very good at something. So it really is something that's for everybody, and anybody can be good at it, but you kind of have to train yourself that you have to be open and friendly with people and keep your relationships open. So, one of the things that I went over with my coach, because, I have a MAPS coach, and one of the things that we were doing is we went over where my listings were coming from. And the one thing that we looked at was 74% of my business comes from either my sphere of influence or referrals from past clients. 74%. So that really means like I'm not going out there and I'm not door knocking and I'm not calling FSBOs and expireds. It's all repeat clients and repeat referrals. And obviously, if you're new to this business, it's not something that you could just say, all right, well, let me just rely on my referrals. Where are they going to come from? But there's things that you can do in this business to kind of get yourself acclimated and get yourself into the business. So I guess what I mean is, for the newer agents out there, one of the things that I really can't stress, and I was talking to Daniel in our office about this a couple of weeks ago, is when you're new in this business, it sounds crazy to say, but it doesn't matter how much money you make in your first few years. And yes, I know people who are getting into this, they need to make money. They may not have the luxury of not making any money and not paying their bills. But really, when you're new into this business, right, real estate is like, it's something that you take your 2-week class, you take the test, and boom, you're a real estate agent. But there's no prior like education that you really take to it, right? So, you go to college, for example, you're paying 4 years to get educated for a field that you're potentially going to take a job in, right? In real estate, a lot of people get into this and they just say, all right, well, I'm going to make money right off the bat, or if I don't make money in the first few months or a year, I'm going to get out of this business. And to me, it's the wrong way to look at it, right? Your first few years is your education. That's where you're learning from the business. So for me, I think, you know, it's becoming a sponge and just learning from everybody around you, taking the classes that KW can gives and offers. And I'm a big advocate for newer agents to start off on teams. You know, it gives you an opportunity to not really have to worry so much about the lead generation portion of it, but learning the business, right? Building your database out through the leads that you get through your team. If you don't want to join a team, then one of the recommendations I would make is to get friendly with one of the top agents in the office. You know, I know there's, especially in my office, there's constantly agents that are looking for, you know, agents to help them out with open houses, right? And I've had agents come up to me and say, oh, you know, I would consider doing that, but you know, the agent wants me to split the commission with them, or split the buyers, or give them commission for any buyers that I get from the open house. And my response always to that is, who cares? Who cares if you're splitting the commission? You know, it's sure, maybe you're making a little bit less money, but it's the experience of it, right? So you sit in an open house, you meet buyers, right? If you don't sell that buyer the house that you're sitting in the open house at, it gives you the opportunity to get to know them, to potentially work with them and continue to work with them on other homes. And that's kind of what you need at this point, is to, you know, go through the motions of looking for houses for people, showing houses, going through making an offers, going through the motions of getting an offer accepted, going through a home inspection, going in through the transaction from accepted offer through the home inspection to getting contracts signed, working out through the appraisal, and going, you know, getting the file to underwriting and getting to closing. Because that knowledge, forget about the money, but the knowledge of the transaction will allow you to learn what's going on and to be able to speak confidently when you're dealing with maybe a potential seller about the timeline of it. So that's how I started off my career. I actually spent the first, I want to say 4 or 5 years of my career as a buyer specialist, a buyer agent. And I was working on a larger team, and it kind of helped me get my database going, right? Because everybody that I sold a house to was somebody that now could recommend me in the future to their friends or their family or anybody that was looking there. And then that's now a homeowner that potentially in years coming up would sell and upgrade their house. So, you know, I know a lot of new agents always look at the buying end. It's like, oh, I don't really want to work with buyers, and it's not something that, you know, I want to focus on listings and that. But the buyers, and I've said this before in some of these other classes, the buyers are actually the ones that typically refer more than the sellers, right? Because you sell somebody a house in the area, you know, many times that's a very joyous a moment for them, right? They're finally buying their first house, or they're moving into the area. They're telling their friends and family, oh, we just bought a house. They're constantly talking about real estate, and now they're in the area, right? When you work for a seller and you're selling the house, many times they're moving out of the area. They're doing, and those aren't people potentially that you keep in touch with as much. So in the early stages of your career, first of all, it's easier to work with buyers, but second of all, it helps set kind of a baseline for your database. And that's like a big thing really for me. But I think honestly, the most important thing really is working on your CRM. And I don't know how many people out there are actually using, you know, a CRM. There's a ton of them that you can use. Honestly, I don't think my business, if I could pick one single important thing in my business, it's using a CRM, a contact relationship management system. Because to me, it keeps you focused, but it keeps you in on everything. So Keller Williams has Command. We're all paying for it already, so you have no excuse not to use it if it's not something that you're using. And I'm shocked at how many people aren't using it. And it doesn't have to be Command if you don't like it. I have my gripes with Command as well, and you know, there's great things about it, and there's things that I don't think it does as well. But to me, the most important thing is you're using it, right? So every single person in your database, right? So whether you're a newer agent and you don't really have many people in the real estate world to put in your database, then it's your friends and it's your family, and it's everybody in your contact list should be in your database. And then as once you move on in your career and you get a little bit, you know, you could start deleting people out of your database who, you know, you're not really talking with about real estate and all of that. But in the very beginning, get everybody in your phone book into your database. And the important things that you want to make sure that you get in there Obviously, you get everybody's first and last name in there. You want to put everybody's phone numbers, their email addresses, the home address, and then notes. Every time you speak with them, I keep notes on in every single time that I speak with someone. I put a note that timestamps when I spoke with them, what the conversation was about. So the next time I speak with that person, I know what our last conversation was, and I can even reference that, right? But getting the email addresses allows you to set up drip campaigns and newsletters and all of that. Getting people's home addresses, if you get to the point where you want to start sending out mailers or postcards and all of that, it allows you one place where you can just print out your mailing list and give it to whoever's going to do your mailings to send everything out. So it allows you to kind of have all your information in one place. But the most important thing that you want to use your CRM for, or at least the most important thing that I use my CRM for, is to remind yourself that you need to be speaking to people, right? Because again, like I said, most of my business comes off of referral, but you're not going to get referrals from people unless you're constantly talking to them, whether it's through the phone or through text messages or through mailers or through email lists or whatever it is. You constantly need to be in touch with these people. So in Command or in Top Producer or any of these other ones that you do, you always need to have the next time you set something where the next time you're going to call somebody is, when the next time you're going to call somebody, because it's so easy to just speak with one person, say, all right, this is a great lead. This is somebody that I'm going to have, and I'm going to keep in touch with them. And then you forget. You just say, oh, crap, I forgot to call that person. If you don't have something that you can remind yourself when you need to be calling them, it's impossible, especially as you get longer into this business, to know when you have to call somebody. So I wouldn't say I don't even have an enormous database. I think a couple of years ago, I probably had about 1,300 people in my database. And I've whittled that down probably to about 600 or 700. But I can tell you that every single person in that database has a call date that I have to call them by. And I make sure, depending on the person that I call them, I speak with them twice a year, 3 times a year, 4 times a year, depending on, if it's somebody that I think I'm chasing after, or if it's somebody that, I already sold the house to and I just want to stay in touch with them. But it allows me to not forget anybody or not miss anybody. So you set a call for everybody. In Command, you have to be careful though, because I've noticed that if I get behind on my calls, it starts to just delete them. Which is a big gripe that I have. So if you're going to use Command for that, you just have to make sure that you're not losing the calls, and you have to stay on top of it. But like when I come into the office every day, right? It's like, I have a lot going on in my life right now, juggling kids and home life and trying to work as many hours as possible. So when I get into the office, I need to be focused. I don't have the time where I can sit around and figure out what am I going to do next. So when I come in, the first thing that I do is I go straight into my CRM, and it's called tasks in Command, but it gives you your tasks of everything you need to do that day or everybody that you need to call that day. So when you come in, I open it up, boom, it gives me a list of the 12 or 15 people that I have to call that day, which again, if you're not using a CRM, there's no way you would know that you have to call people. And you go through the calls and you start making calls. And that's really the biggest thing, is just making the phone calls and staying on top of somebody. Really, there's so many different things you can use. There's the drip campaigns that KW has. I think it's called with like the 33 touch thing, where it automatically can set different emails or market updates that you give. I think I set for people that I'm chasing after, I'll set, really 4 or 5 calls a year for, and I'll plan it all out, and then you keep your notes on it. So to me, like the CRM out of everything is the most important thing that you really have in your arsenal. It keeps you grounded, and it keeps you, I guess, focused on what you need to be doing, and it keeps you from missing calls. The other thing, I guess, the next list on the things in terms of where you can find leads from is, and that's the great thing about social media, is you have everybody in your network now who's constantly looking at these things that will see your social media. So I don't know who I'm friends with on Facebook or who I'm not friends with on Facebook, but I have a personal page, and I also have a business page. I have both, and typically the things that I post on the business page, I'll also post on the personal page. I think now with the way that Facebook works, and as you probably know better than I, but I think the business page now is a lot more towards trying to get people to pay for advertisements and things. So even if you go out and get a lot of followers, at least from from my understanding of it is, you know, you post something on a business page, not all your followers are even going to see it. It's just people who engage a lot with it, but it's really more of if you pay for advertising, it does that. So if you're just talking about, you know, posting your listing or posting other things that you're not going to be spending money on, I actually personally use my personal profile page for. And if you're friends with me on Facebook, you'll see every listing that I get, I typically post on. I post on Facebook, but you know, it's a delicate balance, right? Like there's some agents I know that are constantly only posting things about business and nothing about personal, right? And the more stuff that you post that people interact with, that people like, or that people commented on, there's a greater chance of your next post coming on, right? So it sounds cheesy, but you know, post a picture of your kids or post a picture of something to kind of get people to like it and to engage upon it. And then the next time you post a real estate, you know, thing, then that comes up more on those people's lists. And I'd have to say, you know, I've had friends ask me and they'll reach out to me and say, Tim, you know, I see you're posting listings on your, you know, your listings on Facebook. Do you ever get any business from that? Is that actually anything that you ever get? So I will confidently say I have never posted a listing on Facebook and found a buyer on it. There's nobody that's commented on it and said, hey, this person, you should look at this house, and that person came through and actually bought it. But what posting all of my listings, and if you don't have listings, honestly, I think most agents would be fine with you taking their listings and posting it on and just saying, you know, new office listing. It doesn't have to be yours, but I think a lot of people would be open to that. But what it's constantly doing is it's constantly reminding everybody on Facebook that this is what you're doing. So while I'm, you know, this new house in Whitestone that I put on, I don't think I'm going to find the buyer for that house from it, but it's telling everybody in the world, hey, look, I'm in real estate. This is what I'm doing. And constantly posting. And I can say I probably get, let's see, in the last 12 months, I probably would say that I've gotten 3 or 4 listings just from people reaching out to me on Facebook saying, hey, Tim, I see that you're in real estate. You know, my father has a house to sell, or we're looking to purchase this or this. And it's like, it's people that I don't even talk to. I mean, there's people that I haven't spoken to since high school. Really, there was a girl that I haven't spoken to in high school. Her father had a house in Bayside that he had listed. It expired with somebody else, and she just reached out to me and said, hey, Tim, you know, I see you're always posting your listings. You know, my father's trying to sell this house. Do you think you can help out? And we listed and sold that house. That homeowner recommended me to another homeowner that had to sell their house. I sold that one. The neighbor across the street ended up having to sell their house from there. And that one message that came out to me, I think got us, I want to say 8 sides on the real estate business last year. And it's literally from one lead. So it's like, it's not something that I'm expecting to get, you know, people to come by, but it's constantly just reminding people that this is what you do. And even like Virginia, I saw Virginia posted something that it works. That's what she does. I mean, Virginia is someone that's, you know, I have a lot of respect for because she went a different route. I joined a team to help feed me leads, to help build out my database. And Virginia was able to do it kind of on her own, but she knows a lot of people in the area, and she's constantly posting on social media, listed this or working for this and doing that. And it keeps people aware of what you're doing.
I just want to say thank you for reminding us, right? Because we have to let everyone know that we're a real estate agent. Like you said in the beginning, be proud of what we do. And the more people you know, like I didn't even realize this until this lockdown happened, that most of my listings are coming from my sphere or people that know me or that know of me through friends, right?
And what's great about the sphere, and Virginia, we've spoken about troublesome listings you have, is the people in your sphere or the people that get recommended to you, there's already this level, or typically there's already this level of trust. You have a rapport with them already, right? So like, again, like one of the reasons why I hate for sale by owners is because, and expires is because number one, you have to try to convince them to work with you. Number two, many of these expired listings are just people that aren't realistic on the price point or aren't listening to you anyway, right? But the people that get recommended to you, it's such a more enjoyable transaction to work with these people because there is that level of trust already. So, you know, and I wasn't kidding. The first couple of years I was in this business, I didn't want to tell anybody what I was doing because it just made me nervous, or I was embarrassed to do it. So now it's a completely different story. I think it was one of the things my old broker had said to me once. She was like, you know, she was working with this seller who kept talking about how great their son was, and you know, he was a doctor and he was making so much money. And my broker said to me, she was like, you know, Tim, I barely graduated high school, and I make more money than him, and he's a surgeon. You know, and that's like when it came to me, it was like, you know what, real estate. It doesn't matter if it's prestigious, not prestigious. Look, it's a business where you can make an unbelievable amount of money, and it's something that you don't have. Like I said, you don't have to be smart. You don't have to be. You just have to be good at this one facet of the world, and you know, you have a lot to offer people that people need that, right? So Facebook, the social media is to me is a big thing, and it kind of just goes along with constantly reminding everybody. You know, people see your messages on Facebook, right? You know, you ask me, you know, people say, well, you know, I don't even have a large list of people that I can send my newsletters or mailers to. I mean, you could go through Facebook and just pull everybody's email address off of it and put it on a campaign and start sending it out for, right? And it's like, you know, now they're seeing your posts on Facebook, they're seeing your newsletters that you're sending out, and it kind of just encompasses everything, right? Another thing I think, if you want to actually get out on the streets, which again, I know it's a little bit difficult in this world that we're in right now, but it's picking, I'm sure many of you have heard, but it's picking a farm area, right? So what I would always recommend to people is, you know, you start off small. You know, pick an area that you want to start doing business in. Choose a few block radius, whether it's, you know, a 3-block radius, a 4-block radius, or whatever it is. Go out, door knock, and introduce yourself. And for me, I always had a hard time door knocking. It's not something that I ever really wanted to do. I always kind of hated the idea of bothering people or annoying people. But once you get out there and you start doing it, it's really not so bad. But it's door knocking, introducing yourself, right? Following up maybe a week or two or a month later with, you could do like a quarterly market report, right? And write up a little blurb on your feelings on the real estate markets, and do like a market update on you know, the quarter of 2021 to 2020 or something like that. And Pam, I understand that we're not allowed to door knock now. I'm just giving ideas of different things you can do when that starts to open up again. But it's, you know, it's giving market letters on what's going on in the world, and it's constantly staying in touch with that, right? So you know, people have asked me, oh, well, what do you think about postcards? Do postcards work, and mailers? And to be honest with you, I actually am still a believer of postcards. I think it's one of those things, though, that you have to have a plan and do it, right? So if you're going to start doing postcards, it's not something that I think you can do once and send it out and hopefully get some sort of return. And that's what I hear from a lot of people is like, oh, you know, I tried doing postcards and we didn't get anything from it, right? So instead of sending out one postcard to a lot of different addresses, pick that small farm area that you have, even if it's just a 2-3 block radius, and make a few postcards. And instead of sending one a year or one every 6 months, send a postcard to that 4 blocks once a month, and constantly do that. So that's kind of you picking your farm area. And from there, as you start to grow and as it becomes successful, then you can kind of branch that out and kind of open it up into other things, into a larger farm area. So like right now, my farm area started off in a small part of Whitestone, but now when I'm sending out postcards, it's most of Whitestone and it's parts of North Flushing now. But it's picking a plan. I mean, I did it a little bit a few years ago, then we stopped doing it. We would send out sporadically once, and then we go a few months without doing it again. So I think if you're going to do postcards, it's one of those, you have to stick to a plan to do it. As in, you know, do once a month or, you know, once every 6 weeks or something like that, but you really have to plan it out and be kind of stick with the plan of knowing that, listen, you might not get business out of it right away, but it's something that you're going to have to continue to do. Another thing in terms of listing wise, it's constantly asking for business. And, you know, it's one of those other things when I used to hear my broker, I used to like roll my eyes when I would hear on the phone saying, oh, you know, please recommend me when you can and all that. But, you know, you could follow up with as many people as you want. But if you're not constantly reminding them that, look, I need these referrals. If you ever know anybody who's looking to buy or sell, please remember me if you can. And it's, you know, it's one of those things where if you're not asking for it, you're not always going to get it, right? So, and that's something that I've kind of ingrained into my mind. Like even on listing appointments, you know, I'll say in my listing appointment, look, my goal is to do a good enough job that you know, if I sell your house and I don't do the best of job and it's not a pleasant experience for everybody, sure, maybe I can pay my bills for the month, but that's not how I build a business. That's not how I built my career over the last 13 years, right? So what my job is, I want to do a good enough job for you that you feel comfortable and confident in recommending me to your friends and to your family, because that's how I build my business. My business is built off of referrals. So can I ask you, is that something that you think you can do for me? You know, when you know, after this is said and done, can you confidently say to me, I will recommend you your friends or family? Because that's what my job is, and that's what my goal is to do. And throughout the transaction, look, hey, congrats, we just accepted an offer, or congrats, we're now under contract. Remember, if, you know, now that this one is sold, I'm going to need a house to replace your house. So please, if you know anybody that's looking to buy or sell, please recommend me. Cole Realty is pretty expensive. But if you could talk to me, there's ways that you could go around it a little bit. But again, with Cole Realty, just answering the question I see in the chat, Cole Realty is one of those things where the cold calling right now is not really allowed. So it's not something that I think I would recommend spending a lot of money on right now until those restrictions kind of get uplifted, I guess, a little bit. Let's see, where else finding leads? You know, a lot of it I think also is just staying social. You know, and again, with COVID right now, things have kind of put a little bit damper of this, but if you have kids, you know, I would very much recommend getting involved in the PTA association and all the things with your kids, because, you know, the younger families are the ones that are typically buying and selling and moving around. You know, I'll give you a case and example. I play basketball every Thursday. Or at least I used to play basketball every Thursday, not anymore. But it's one of those things when I started playing a few years ago, you know, it was just a friend of mine that had played in this game, and I came, and after a few weeks, I started to get to know the people a little bit better. After a few weeks, we started talking about what everybody did. Then I decided upon myself, I wanted to make it very clear so everybody in this gym, who's all in their 20s and 30s, knows what I do for a living. So I actually embroidered clothes. I put logos, and I sell real estate. I actually put on the back of my shirt, ask me about real estate when I was playing basketball, right? And, you know, I would get made fun of a little bit for it, but everybody in the gym knew that I was playing basketball. Everyone in the gym I was playing basketball knew what I did for a living. And actually, after a certain amount of time, I started doing business. I sold, I think, 2 or 3 different people houses in that gym, and then I listed 2 or 3 different people's homes for sale in that gym too. So it's really just a matter of getting out there and figuring out what sort of social groups you can get in with, and just making friends and keeping everybody aware of what you do for a living. Another thing I think is a big thing is vendors. So, you know, we're all constantly being, you know, solicited from different real estate attorneys or mortgage lenders for business. And look, it's who better to recommend you than people you're recommending back, right? So, you know, whenever I get these phone calls from mortgage lenders or attorneys saying, hey, you know, can I talk to you about it? Can I take you out to lunch? Can we talk about what different programs we offer, or what I can offer them as an attorney? My question is, my response is actually pretty simple. I'm more than happy to refer people business, but you got to send it back. And I'm only interested in working with vendors if the referrals are back and forth are ongoing. So if you want some business from me, send me some business first, and then we can get started. And it works. You know, the attorneys that I recommend all recommend me business back in return. The mortgage lenders that I recommend me business back in return. You know, I'm not somebody that's looking for any special treatment or anything like that, but it needs to be a reciprocal relationship. So for me, the vendors is a big thing that you can hit up as well. And you could be the one that even starts the list, that starts the call. You know, you call an attorney and say, look, can I take you out to lunch? You know, I'm hungry, I'm new in the business. And look, even attorneys that are established and have people that they recommend business to, right? It's they're looking to grow their business too, right? So they're looking for newer people to start recommending them business, and they'll throw you something to kind of hopefully try to get started. So vendors is something that I am constantly talking to and just calling and saying, hey, you know, can you know, what's going on, and just keeping friendly relationships and even just talking, and that's to me is a big thing. Zillow, although we all hate it, it's at least for the time being still, I think it's sort of a necessary evil. So Zillow, Yelp, and Google, I make sure that we get as many reviews as possible that we can on those. I'm not saying that you actually have to go out and pay for the review or pay for any of the Premier Agent and all that, but it's one of those that you need to get people to write your reviews. I mean, the nice thing about Yelp and Google is Yelp and Google does not ask for any sort of like proof for anything that they work with. And I'm not advocating to go out and start lying and getting people to write fake reviews, but it's anybody can write reviews for that. Zillow, I think, for the most part, you're supposed to certify that you know that they either bought something or sold something with you. So there's a little bit more step to it, but it's weird. I don't really do much like internet marketing. Honestly, besides the postcards that again we just started doing recently, I don't really spend a lot of money on marketing. But Zillow is one of those things that, you know, when you get people to write reviews, it shows up. I think it helps boost your name when people start, you know, your SEOs, when people start searching your name, things come up. I think if you type in Timothy Ho or Tim Ho Realtor or something like that, maybe it won't be at the top, but the Zillow profile comes up at some point. You click on the profile and you'll see 47 reviews or whatever reviews it is. And it's, I get phone calls. It's funny. I get phone calls from people saying, hey, I saw you on Zillow. You know, we're in a similar situation to one of the reviews that I read, you know, can you help us sell the place? And honestly, I probably get, I know it's not a ton, but I probably get maybe 3 or 4 calls from Zillow, people saying, I just saw your profile on Zillow and I have to sell something. And it's one of those things that it's very easy to look past that, but anytime you buy a house, you sell a house, you rent something or anything, you should be having them write some sort of review. And then what we do is you make sure that you ask for it at the right time. So really the best time to really do it is right before the closing or right after the closing. We have this kind of generic email that we have typed out already that gives you the link to your Zillow profile. It gives you the link to your Yelp profile, and it gives a link to your Google review profile. And I actually offer out that we send them like a $5 or $10 Starbucks gift card or something like that whenever they write a review. But look, it's 40 reviews. That's $200. It is what it is. But it's the reviews really do help. What else can I think of? Open houses. Even when this is actually something I learned from Family Reunion a year or two ago. You know, the majority of people that do come to open houses are buyers, right? But a lot of times there are sellers in there too that are just looking to compare what their house is to potentially what you're selling, so they can try to get a feel for pricing and all of that. So, you know, one of the scripts that I learned in Family Reunion was like, I think it was actually Ben Kinney, who had everyone on his team who was doing open houses do that. When somebody walks through the door, you know, the conversation goes, hey, it's great to meet you. My name is Tim. Thanks so much for coming to the open house. You know, from our experience, we've noticed that people come to open houses because they're either looking to purchase something, or many times they're neighbors and they own a house and they're kind of just looking to get an idea on pricing and potentially want to sell something in the future. So let me ask you, are you looking to purchase something, or are you looking to possibly sell something? And it's you know, it's a lot to say, and it's something that you're gonna have to say over and over again to everybody that comes through the door. But you'll find out that you'll get people that are looking to sell. And if you're one of those agents that are making a deal with the top agents to, you know, do open houses for them, that's something that you definitely need to be asking that question, because you never know, somebody coming in there and is looking to sell something. I know Anthony started doing recently all of his open houses with Vito because he was finding that there were so many sellers that were out there that were doing it. So that's, to me, is a big thing that needs to be said and needs to be asked in these questions. So I've talked for about 40 minutes straight now. and I have to leave in about 5 minutes. So I'll open up if anybody has any questions.
Hey, Tim, thank you very much. It was wonderful. It's Robert.
What's going on, Rob? You have a question, or you're just saying thank you?
Well, I just want to say thank you. It was wonderful.
Okay, yeah, my pleasure.
I'm sorry. I thought I was.
Hey, Tim, how are you? It's Manuel here.
Hey, how's it going?
Very well. Can
Man,
you
before we start, I took you up on your accountant, by the way, and
yeah,
that's the great thing about accounting, right? I mean, about KW, right? You can get referrals from everything. So John is great. So if anybody needs a good real estate accountant, Manuel's guy is
it's
he's
good.
helped me. He's helped me with a lot, especially with the PPP stuff, which I
Yes.
don't know if he helped you with. But and then I'll take your question in a second. But going on one of those things, if people here have had income over the last couple of years, the PPP thing is something that you need to take advantage of. I mean, from last year into this year, I think all you have to do is show that your income dropped in 1 quarter by 25%. And you get, I think, it's like 2.5 months salary. And that's all you have to do, 1 quarter, literally 1 quarter. Your year total could be the same, but all you need to do is have 1 quarter go down by 25% and you qualify for it. And I don't want to tell you how much money that I got, but I got enough money to buy a car from PPP this year. So it's definitely something everybody needs to look into. So Manuel, what's going on, brother?
Good. No, he's very good, and he said the same thing to me. So I'm always been very big on my sphere of influence. I'm always very big on going out there after expires, knocking on doors. What is a little harder for me is calling on the phone. So my question is about circle prospecting. What program do you use for circle prospecting? What are your scripts? How do you use circle prospecting to get leads?
Yeah, so there's a lot of things you can do, right? You can, and that's one thing that, like, when I first came off on my own, I wanted to make sure that when I had a listing, I wanted to take full advantage of all the leads that could potentially come in from that listing, right? So whenever I would sell something, that's something that you really should be door knocking around it. And again, I guess you can't really be door knocking right now, but I think you can actually send out mailers, or you can send out, and look, to me, for many things, so I guess, I don't know if I should say this over a computer on this, but, for me, many times it's better to ask for forgiveness than to ask for permission, right? So, we'll still do, like, drop things off from people's, like, in the houses and all that. So I know, like, technically you're not supposed to put anything in somebody's mailbox, right? I think legally only the postman is allowed to put things in the mailbox, but, you could put letters on people's doors or on their, like, handrails or things like that. So that's one of those things that, like, whenever I sell a house, we'll actually go around to that block and we'll leave information on the door and say, look, many times neighbors know people who might be looking to buy or sell into this area, or many times neighbors are curious what your neighbor just sold for, right? So if you have any questions on the market, please let me know. So in terms of that, every single house that you list, every single house that you sell, you need to be doing some sort of circle prospecting around it, whether that's sending postcards to it, whether that's door knocking, whether that's just leaving your card or leaving information about that. And then you could send just sold and, postcards and things like that. But that's most of kind of the circle prospecting around the listings that we're doing. Actually, one of the things, I know this is a little off topic, but one of the things that I did over the past couple of weeks that was great was I got pretty good at figuring out how to like set up COVID vaccine appointments. So I actually called all of my elderly clients in my entire database and offered to help people get COVID vaccine appointments. And I spent 3 straight days, just literally, I wasn't even working. I was just getting COVID vaccine appointments for people. But I must have gotten, I'm not even exaggerating, 20 appointments for elderly clients that I know for a fact that the appreciation was so high that people are going to start recommending from there. I did it for people that I'm chasing after, that when they're looking to sell their house, and I've gotten emails, I've gotten cards, I've gotten, so many nice things from people, appreciating that. So that's a big thing that you can do. So I guess I was thinking about that when you're saying you have a tough time calling people. When I call people a lot of times, man, there's a reason for my call too, right? So I'll call a lot during the holidays time, right? Just to wish, happy holidays, things are about to get crazy, but I just wanted to call you and, wish your family the best and all of that. We keep track of like house anniversaries when people buy or sell a house, just an excuse to call them. This is your 1-year anniversary on the house. Congratulations, that. Keep people's birthdays. And you don't even have to do that. You friend everybody on Facebook that you've worked with that tells you it's people's birthdays, right? So when people write on people's walls to say, happy birthday and all that, I'll pick up the phone and I'll call them, say, hey, happy birthday. And, the conversation goes easier than you would expect, because usually they're asking me about real estate. I don't even have to bring it up, and people are usually asking me about it,
Tim, I have a question. Are you done? I'm sorry, I don't want to cut anybody off. Manuel, are you done? So, yeah, that's great. Always come from a place of contribution. I actually got a buyer today because I joined a bracket for the March Madness, and somebody kind of related to my family I was like, oh, by the way, I know he lives up in New Rochelle. I was up in that area, and he's like, oh, I'm looking for a house actually. So you know what, if you let people know, kind of like, you don't even have to be so direct that I'm a real estate agent. They'll tell you, look, I'm actually looking for a house. And I actually, I referred them to somebody because I don't really want to be driving up there every day.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, look, referrals is something that you can do too. Like I have, I make sure I have friends asking me, and I'll say to friends all the time, look, even if you're buying or selling out of the area, let me know. And, part of Keller Williams, we have this huge network. It's easy for me to find other people. I got a referral check for somebody who sold their house in Connecticut, and then I got them a referral check from somebody for an agent that I recommended that they bought with, and I did nothing. And I got I think I got like $4,000 last month in 2 different checks from 2 different people. So it was like, it's one of those things. It's easy. You can just go on KW, you go into command, and you can look up the agents that do the most business, listings or buyer sides, and then you just recommend them, and it's an easy way to get referrals from there too.
my question, Tim, is, how long were you a solo agent before you got a team, or did you always have a team?
So I was on another team with my prior broker for 10 years. Then when I came to KW, I was here for a year. And then I started a team basically after my first year at Keller Williams, or going into my second year. But again, it's not like I was only in the business. I was in the business 11, 12 years, so it wasn't like I just started that. But for me, I think you really have to make sure you have enough business to give the agent that you're taking on. Like right now I have 1 buyer agent, and Calvin, I love Calvin, and I never want him to leave, and I want to make sure that he has enough leads that to support himself. But he's getting probably, I would say 40 to 50 right now, and more when it's even busier, but let's say 40 to 75 leads a month he's getting from buyer ends, and it's just him to work with. So for me, you really need to make sure you can support that and get that many leads for somebody before I think it's time to branch out and starting out a team,
Yeah, and you also pay for half of their monthly dues, is that correct?
I mean, there's different programs that you could do. It depends on your commission split that you have with them, when you're split with that,
Okay.
Yeah, there's a million different models that I can show you that you can go over before you.
Got it. Thank you.
So you pay extra to join a team, and how do teams work exactly? Like you share commission, or you get each other?
Typically that works, and it depends on each thing. I know different agents have different agreements with it. My agreement with Calvin is he basically takes all of my buyer leads, so I don't take a single phone call or a single lead that comes in. So I'm never personally selling any of my own listings. Calvin's taking all the buyer leads and all that. So there's a commission split for that, and that's probably a higher commission split than if you joined a team that they're not giving you every lead like that or all the good leads. So, but yeah, you typically give a percentage of your commission to the agent that runs the team. But for me, like I said, for the newer agents, it's not really about the money, right? It's about the experience, and it's about building out your database.
Oh no, yeah, it's not about the money. I actually feel, since I'm new, that if I join a team, I won't be able to contribute as much as everybody else. Like I kind of feel bad about that. Like I only have 1 buyer I'm working with now. Like, how could I pull my weight in the team? Like, how could I,
Well, you pull your weight in the team by, I mean, the at least for my perception on how my team is, what my job is to get you the leads, not vice versa, or else if you had all the leads, well, what do you need me for?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, besides, learning the business, but what by joining a team, what my job is to support you with the leads, to give you the leads for it,
I got
So
you.
look, guys, I'm sorry to cut this off, but teacher's gonna be pissed at me because I'm gonna be late. So I'll see you guys.
All right, I'll see you. Thanks for everything. It was very informative.
Yeah.
Andrew, it sounds like we need